Well, good morning. It is a privilege and blessing to be your speaker this morning. Um, I do have one complaint. It seems like I always get to follow the preacher after a gospel meeting. Brett Hickey, Jonathan Edwards, Colin Smith. So I'm going to have to write a complaint about that one. Um, but when I checked the schedule, I noticed that a few weeks ago, and it reminded me of this lesson. And then I got to think to myself, you know what? I've preached some of the best lessons in the church, and I say that with confidence because back when we were in Washington, we had bilingual services. So whoever was speaking, I was the one interpreting the lesson for about 4 years. So I often interpreted for Don McCord, Glenn Osborne, I think Joe Heisel a time, and many others. So that gave me a little bit of a confidence knowing that. So in all seriousness, this is a lesson that I put together a few years ago, and it kind of reminded me after knowing that I was going to be after this Brett Hickey as a speaker the following Sunday. I think it's a lesson that I think is meant to be more motivating, but at the same time, it can be a little bit of a kick in the pants, as I like to say. I think we can relate because I think we all like the best of things. We like the best of foods, T-bone steak and lobster. We like the best of shoes and clothing because, sometimes they're just a lot more comfortable and last a long time. As I get older, I like to appreciate comfort more. I don't care if the shoes cost $100, but if they're comfortable, it's money well spent. So I've grown to appreciate the best footwear. Back when I was a youngster, the 90s, everybody wanted to be like Michael Jordan, because he was the best. You wanted to eat Big Macs because he was on the McDonald's commercial. You wanted to wear Nike stuff because Mike wore Nike. If you're having a surgery, I think you appreciate the best surgeon. You don't want the guy that just looked like he came out of college. If you're flying an airplane, you want the pilot to look like he's got some 20, 30 years experience. I've come across a lot of customers now that it seems like they're younger than me. And for a long time, everybody I worked for, it seems like I was working for older people. And now I'm at the point where I'm working for people younger than me. It's kind of an odd feeling, but we can appreciate experience. And I think also in a competitive nature sometimes, even at work, I'm reminded of a quote Muhammad Ali said, "It doesn't matter if you're the world's best supermodel or the world's best garbage man, as long as you're the best." So I'm reminded of that when I'm working. I try to strive to be the best. I think also too when it comes to the things that we like to do, sports. We try to be the best in sports. We try to eat the best of foods. Our hobbies, fishing, hunting, we like to, get the best buck, buy the fancy lures. I think we all appreciate the best of things. But this morning, the lesson comes from Malachi 1, 13 through 14. And the lesson, the text this morning in Malachi, the Jews are to offer a sacrifice unto God for the forgiveness of sin, as they did in the Old Testament, sacrifice of animals. But for some reason, they began to grow weary. Maybe it was inconvenient. They had to kill their best animal that they could have perhaps sold for a good price, or maybe they were hoping to keep it as rebreeding stock. Whatever the reason, it became a little inconvenient for them to offer God the best. So what they did was they thought, well, maybe God won't notice if instead of the best one, we'll offer this one that's kind of blind. He can't really see good anyways, or the sickly one. It's always had a problem since birth, kind of sickly, or the lame one that's got maybe kind of a gimpy leg. They decided maybe they would do that, give that unto God. In Malachi 1, 13 through 14, God replies, and he says, "Ye said also, Behold, what a weariness it is, and ye have snuffed at it, saith the Lord of hosts. And ye brought that which was torn, and that lame, and the sick, thus ye brought an offering. Should I accept this of your hand, saith the Lord? But cursed be the deceiver, which hath in his flock a male, and voweth and sacrifice unto the Lord a corrupt thing. For I am a great king, saith the Lord of hosts, and my name is dreadful among the heathen." This morning, I want us to focus a little bit on this text this morning about our sacrifices unto God. The first point I want to make is, you might be thinking, well, what's this got to do with me? We don't sacrifice animals. We don't go to the temple and make an offering of live animal like they did in the Old Testament. But in Romans 12:1, under the New Testament, it says, "I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service." Romans 12 here, Paul urges the church to present their lives as a sacrifice. Our life today is a sacrifice in everything we do. Once we've decided to obey the gospel and serve God, according to 1 Corinthians 6, 19 through 20, we've been purchased by the blood of Christ, so we're no longer our own. That old person has been buried, and we're a new creature, and our life is service to God. And on a daily basis, we have to make decisions, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, of our time. We have to make sacrifices of our time, financially with our money, our relationships, who we spend time with, and sometimes we have to pick and choose the things we enjoy. So we can all relate that we have to make sacrifices no matter what. But we've read that God is pleased with the best that we can offer. He demands it, and He's worthy of it. In Malachi 1, 14, where it says, "Cursed be the deceiver which hath in his flock a male, instead offereth a corrupt thing." It's referring to, there was specific instruction on what they were to offer. Spotless, a male was considered the prime offering, and that's what they were to do. But and oftentimes I think we have opportunity, likewise, to offer the best things that we can with our giving, not just in the giving of the collection, but on a daily basis, where we can give somebody to something that we just maybe give them $1, or maybe we could offer to buy them a meal instead. Maybe that's the better thing we can do. Sometimes we have the ability to give and contribute to the church services, but sometimes we choose to do the lesser because it's just a little bit easier. Sometimes we have time to serve and to do things for the Lord, but we have these other things that we really like to do, golfing and fishing and things like that. I'm not saying that we can't do those things are bad, but sometimes we have to make decisions as a sacrifice. I think it's easy to deceive one another. We can deceive all those around us pretty easily if we worked at it and tried hard. Sometimes, I like to go to the sale barn and buy a cow here and there, and you look at it and, man, that's a good-looking cow, and you buy it and you think you get a good deal, and then you get it home and you notice that, it's got a gimpy leg, or, it's really wild and crazy and likes to jump over the fence. And, you kind of get, I guess, fooled. Or maybe you're buying a used car, and, the person says, this is It's a mint condition, one owner. It belonged to a little old lady. She only drove to church on Sundays, and it was downhill both ways. You know, we've heard those sale tactics, and you know, we can be deceived. But you know, I really think it's foolish when you read the text that we've read this morning and think, you know, how could they do that? You know, what were they thinking? But you know, as we think back upon ourselves, I think we can kind of maybe look back in some of the choices we've made and think that, you know, we likewise maybe perhaps weren't thinking the way we should. Second point I want to make is I think God wants us to give the best to one another. John 15, 12 and 13, it says, "This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends." The best we can offer, the greatest love, is to lay our life down for one another. You know, I've said this in times past, that if I have to die for anybody here, you better make it good. You better make it interesting, because I only get to do it once. There better be a helicopter or sharks or something, explosion, that, you know, gives me a good reason. But that's not necessarily all it's meaning. Yes, you know, we're to have that mindset, but it's more talking about a selfless, laying down your life. Perhaps your needs, your wants for your brothers and sisters. You know, I'm talking about, you know, there's only 2 chairs and, you know, 3 people. You know, you choose to stand, or you're the first one to sit down. When it comes to getting in line for the potluck, maybe some of us youngsters, hey, let's let some of these older folks and the people that have health issues and stuff, let's let them go first. Putting one another in front of yourselves. I know we have issues with the temperature here, the hot cold. It seems like 1 minute it's freezing in here, 10 minutes later it's super hot. We just can't get the temperature right. But you know, once me and Daniel went to Mexico a few years ago down there. Seemed like it was about 110 degrees inside that church building. Concrete floors. It was hard to just even stay awake. Just sweating. And once you've kind of maybe gone through some things, you can just realize that, you know, even having carpet is a luxury. Having comfortable chairs. Yes, you know, the heat is an issue, but let us remember that, you know, we want the best what's for those around us. I think we can honestly say that I think everybody in here we want the best for one another always. I'm reminded of another thing we can perhaps take in consideration. Genesis 13, 1 through 11, the story of Lot and Abram. So I'll paraphrase a little bit this story. So Lot and Abram, it says they had tremendous herds of cattle and was rich in silver and gold, and he was very prosperous in the land. So Lot and Abraham, seems like life is just so great, everything's good, and it seems like that's when Satan likes to attack. When everything is good, that's when he feels like he needs to poke. So there began to be some strife between the herdsmen of Lot and Abram. For whatever reason, maybe they're fighting over the watering holes or the better of grass. So there began to be a conflict amongst them. And what Abram does, he says, you know what, Lot, you go left and I'll go right. You go north, I'll go south. You go this way, I'll go that way. He decided, you know what, I'll let him pick a direction, and I'll just go the opposite to keep the peace. And in verse 10 it says, "And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, even as the garden of the Lord." So that's where Lot picked. Abram could have said, you know what, I'm the older one. I should get seniority. You go to that other side that's not quite as good. I've been here longer. But, you know, he put the needs of his nephew before his own, and he wanted his nephew to do good. You know, it's a lesson for us to learn in that when we take one another into consideration. The time I gave this lesson, Roy had preached on on Hannah and Samuel. Hannah couldn't bear a child, and she said if she could bear a child, she would dedicate him to the Lord, and that's what she did. Oftentimes we want to give the best to our children, and we focus everything on academics, sport, money, whatever, and their success that way, that we forget to neglect. The most important thing is is God's truth. Let that be the best thing you can give to your child, and everything else could take a second. Sometimes the best we can give one another is maybe just a phone call, making a meal for one another, a hug, a little patience, a little compassion, a little forgiveness. Maybe it's just $20. Someone just needs $20. I'm reminded, I have a thing where I have a really good memory and I don't forget things very easily. Alicia always says, I can't believe you remember when you were 4 and 5 years old and things like that. But I remember it must have been the first or second time I came to church here. We were new to the area. Ken helped us move from the city, all our stuff down here. And then I think it must have been the first or second time we came here. I think it was a Wednesday night. And I was talking to Roy about, getting settled in. We got to do all this stuff. I need a washer and dryer. And I don't know if he maybe understood that I was broke and I needed to buy a washer and dryer or what it was. But he took it amongst himself to ask the members of the church to, essentially pass the bucket on a Sunday evening, and everybody pitched in. It was $200 or $300 that everybody here gave to me. I felt a little bit embarrassed. I told him, hey, it's fine, and I didn't want to offend him, so I just took it and I just put it back in the collection, or to the collection on the following Sunday. But that's one thing I'll never forget. I know this place is a place where we love each other, we care about each other, and we want the best for each other. Thirdly, I know I kind of focus on an individual basis for the church. I guess in an individual contribution in whatever way we can. Thirdly, I want to focus on the church as a whole. We the church, we're the body. We are to be one. Not everybody's a hand, not everybody's the foot or the eye. We all have our limitations. We all have our skills, our abilities, our talents. But we read in Malachi, God knows if you're giving your best or not. And we know that God is pleased when we do the best for the church. Ephesians 3:20 through 21. Down to him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all, and that we ask or think according to the power that worketh in us. Unto him be glory in the church by Christ Jesus, throughout all ages, a world without end. Amen. There's a time in the church where if it takes everything you got just to get up here and lead a song or pass the communion. I still get nervous when I lead a song. I still get really nervous before I get up here and speak. I have made sure I had a really small breakfast this morning because sometimes I usually don't even eat because it seems like about 5 minutes before I just start getting really nervous. I know we don't all contribute in the same way. Some people are really good at singing all the parts, the bass, soprano, tenor, alto. Some of us, we just do our best to make a joyful sound. I know my kids say, I'm off all the time, but we do our best. We all try. Now I feel like I'm past some of those times where it's the best I can do just to get a song. I feel guilty even if I don't even lead all the verses in a song. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I feel like I can do more. I feel like I need to contribute more. And there was a time where I couldn't do it. There was a time that it was as hard as some of us. I'm not saying we all need to get up here and speak. I'm just saying that we need to give our best that we can to contribute to the church. Some of us can't help if there's a plumbing issue. Some of us can't set up a laptop. I know I can't set up the laptop and do that. I know it just wouldn't work. we'd all be disappointed. Some of us just aren't qualified to do certain things. We're not going to go over to a husband may not go over to sister's house and check on her, or sister to certain things we just are not, qualified or in the best sense should do. Some of us aren't as patient. Some of us aren't as sensitive. Some of us, we just do our best for one another. But as a church, we got to do our best in the glory of God. God demands the best. He wants the best of our abilities, our talents, our strengths, and it's all it is to benefit the church, not to glorify oneself or say how wonderful I am. It's for the benefit of the church. A few more comments here in closing. I just want to ask these questions one more time. What is your best for God? What is your best for your brethren? What is your best for the church, for your children, for your spouse, for your community? If you have that perfect, spotless male sacrifice, don't offer God you're sick, you're blind. Give God your best. Colossians 3:23, whatsoever you do, do it heartily as unto the Lord and not unto men. Matthew 5:41, he that asks you to walk a mile, you walk with him twain. A Christian should be one that goes above and beyond, goes that extra mile. I've been called many things in my day in form of insults. I've been called short and fat and ugly, dumb and bald, all kinds of things. I think, but I'm reminded of one thing in Matthew 25:26 when Jesus is preaching the parable of the talents, and he gives 1 5, and he doubles it 10, 1 2, and he doubles it 4, and he gives the one, and he does nothing with it. He just buries in the ground, and then when the master returns in Matthew 25:26, it says, his Lord answered and said unto him, thou wicked and slothful, lazy servant, thou knowest that I reap where I sowed not, and gather where I have not strewed. I think I could live with any insult, sticks and stones, but I don't know that I could live knowing that in that final day that I might be called wicked and lazy for not doing what I was supposed to. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's also a warning for us, to put effort out. We could always do more, give a little more, work a little harder, and that's the whole point of the lesson is to motivate us to do a little bit better. And lastly, that's as an individual basis. Lastly, the warning, Revelation 3:15, the church of Laodicea. I know that you are neither hot or cold. Would that either hot or cold. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot or cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. We don't want to just be a lukewarm congregation or cold. We want to be hot. We want to be one that works hard and tries and puts effort out, all to glorify God. That is all I have on the subject this morning.